Bom dia, Ave. Obrigado a todos pela presença. Eu vou rapidamente apresentar o Coronel Kobi, porque ele tem exatamente 25 minutos, 30 minutos para conversar com a gente. O Coronel Kobi Regev, da Reserva, é especialista em estratégia global pela US Air Force University, foi piloto e comandante de 2 esquadrões de F-16 e foi adido das Forças de Defesa de Israel e representante do Ministério da Defesa na Itália, Suíça, Sérvia e Croácia. Hoje na Força Aérea Israelense é professor de escola de voo, comandante da sala de controle da sede e porta-voz da Força de Emergência. Coronel Kobi, thank you very much for your presence. We're going to do this talk in English, and then for the audience, we're going to subtitle this conversation as soon as possible, and then we're going to publish in our social media and the social media of other institutions in Brazil, so people in Brazil can listen live to a commander of the Israeli Air Force talking about what's going on now in Gaza and in Israel. So first of all, I would like to ask you, Coronel, just to start, if you can explain to us how the operations against terrorist groups in the populated areas of Gaza works. And first of all, good morning, good afternoon in Israel. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I want to thank Adrian for doing this match. Thank you, Adrian. You are a good friend and a good friend of Israel. Thank you. Now I'm in my house, in my home, so in Tel Aviv. So if there will be siren because of attack over Tel Aviv, I will have to do a pause for 8-10 minutes, and then we will continue. Okay. First of all, and before I will speak about the things, I just want to tell you that I'm here because the support of the Jewish people and the Friends of Israel, especially in this difficult time for the citizen in Israel, is very, very important. And when we act, we want to know we have a backup of our citizens in Israel. This is why it's hard for us, the current situation that we have some riots here. And it is important for us that we know that we have international support, and especially the Jewish community around the world, that we are a second home for them. And all the supporters of Israel, you are part of the conflict of our operation, because you give us a lot of motivation and strength to continue our effort against the Hamas. And this is why I wake up half an hour early to speak with you.
Thank you.
So we are now in the 8th day, and I can tell you that the Israeli IDF has a program which is going until now under what we thought will happen. Around 2,000 rockets already fell over Israel, hundreds just near where I live in the center of Israel. Millions of people are now changed their daily life behavior. But even though there are risks for the citizen in Israel, I can tell you that once I'm going out from the bunker in Tel Aviv, and I drive, I see people on the streets, people are going to work. So this is an emergency atmosphere, but even though we have the Iron Dome, which is a miracle, really, that allow us to continue our life, not regularly, but under restrictions, but we can continue our daily life. Look, we have a lot of achievement until now. And I want to tell you what is our achievement. First of all, I'm telling you from knowing the leaders of the Hamas who left, they are under the ground, having a hard time to operate because they know that we are after them. So they're having a hard time to give orders to command, and really, and I want to be modest, I think that I know what's going on in Gaza better than them, because they are under a blackout because what they are afraid from us. And in this matter, I can tell you that once they will take out from their bunker, they will start to count all of the soldiers that have been disappeared under the ground. They will see what we did to the factories of the rockets, what we did for the underground tunnel, the metro, the famous metro. We can speak about it later because it is strategic hit. It's not just tactical issues. They will be surprised. And having said that, I can tell you that they have built for many, many years a rocket array which contain thousands of holes, bunkers in the ground in all of the Gaza Strip. Most of them are very close proximity to mosques, to houses, inside houses. And they have a mechanism that they can operate those missiles until the last minute of this conflict. So they can be in a very bad strategic situation, but the mechanism that they created to continue the firing over Israel will continue as nothing has happened. And we need to be prepared and to take care of ourselves, not to be optimistic and not going into the shelters because we want to prevent this issue, this achievement from the Hamas. So we are now targeting those rockets with the Iron Dome. We are attacking a lot of rockets that are now being hidden out under the ground. And we are trying to kill those small operational units that what they are doing is taking the timer, switch it to a certain hour, and then run away. It's an automatic system, and this is why it is a little bit difficult for us to stop the firing of the rockets. So we need to understand about their capabilities to fire, but in the second hand, what is really going on in the Hamas. And let me suggest for you not to believe what you hear in the news, that they are in a good spirit and they continue forever. Okay, this is not the case. And this is why you can hear all of their leaders pushing forward for a ceasefire. So in general, I can tell you that our program is going as planned. Our achievement until now, it is a combination of what happened each day. Thousands of targets are being destroyed, and we have many operational achievements until now.
Perfect.
On the other hand, let me tell you something else, that we have also prevented of their achievement of what they call surprises. Of course, until now, we don't know what will happen in the next hour, but we took off their ability to hit our gas in the sea, a lot of commando attacks. They have small UAVs and drones, explosives drones. They tried many, many things to surprise us. And until now, thank God, we have succeeded to stop all of their special attacks.
That's amazing, Coronel. Let me ask you something that is very debated here in Brazil right now. How the IAF work attacking terror targets in populated areas. I saw in television 2 days ago, I remember you talking about the precision, that the IAF, the Israeli Air Force, has the best precision in the world. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Look, this issue of how we operate, I think this is around a science fiction story. there are 2 million Palestinians living in a very, very narrow strip. You cannot find 10 square meters without something in it. And in one hand, we want to have a lot of force, a lot of weapons over the Gaza Strip. And the second hand, we want to be restrained in order not to kill innocent people. The issue of those innocent people, first of all, it's a matter of morality and our values. In our history, we cannot allow ourselves as a nation to be highly violent and not take this issue under heavy consideration.
Perfect.
So this is the major issue. The second issue is that we also know that the Hamas commanders, they want us to kill a lot of their civilians, because this is the way that they believe that the international community will engage only if they will see that we have killed a lot of innocent people in Gaza Strip. So it's the major issue is moral values, but it's also an operation. Being 100% accurate in the mission, to destroy the mission, it's not the only objectives. I have to balance. I have to balance of how much to achieve the mission and how many risks I'm allowing myself to take. It's depend on intelligence, what we know about the targets, what will happen while the armament will hit the target, what will happen to the surrounding, what is the chance that people will get hurt, how you do not fire when you see a lot of people around. So there are many factors. And the highlight is that I'm telling you from a military guy point of view, this is almost unbelievable that you tell your enemy, I'm coming to attack you.
Yes.
Many targets in order to avoid innocents being hurt. We let them know that we are coming. And remember, we are attacking military targets, not civilian. Each house that we target, it has a reason. It has intelligence. There is a commander that said this is a military target. And we take, it depends on what kind of target is it, but for a lot of them, we give them a notice. We take a small bomb from the air, we put it on the roof, and they know that if they hear a small bomb on the roof, knock on the roof, you need to evacuate. You have an hour to evacuate your house. There are targets that we even send messages to the cell phones. We call them on the cell phone and we tell them, look, you have to evacuate the house. So, and look at me, I am the one that now setting the balance between mission successful and not to engage in a highly violent way, to take the innocent people under heavy consideration when we say, okay, this is the plan, this is the risk, and now you can go and attack the mission. And I can tell you that you can be very proud of the way we do it, not just why, is the how we are doing it. Highly moral.
We sure are very proud. Speaking about the violence, in matter of speaking, many people in the media and academia accuse Israel, outside Israel, around the world, of course, of employing the so-called disproportionate retaliation against civilians in the Gaza Strip. So as a member of the Israeli Air Force, how you answer this accusation?
Look, we are in a defense. The Hamas has launched missiles over Jerusalem without any provocation from our side. It has launched missiles over the near surrounding in Gaza, Sderot, and later on, okay? So, and we need to defend ourselves. We need to defend ourselves in a way it will be effective. The other side that understand our vulnerability for the human suffering in the Gaza Strip, he is using those civilians as human shields. And I can give you hundreds of examples. You know, terrorists in the Gaza Strip, when they walk, they have a kid around them. Do you know it?
Yes.
Because they understand that it will be much difficult for us,
of course,
to take a decision. And there is a decision. There are dilemmas. Always there are dilemmas. You know, I give you another dilemma. You know, in one of their bunkers, they have several of very big rockets with a lot of explosives inside. They are getting ready to being launched to Tel Aviv.
yes.
But the location of this site is 5 meters from a mosque and 10 meters from a house, the civilians. But in the end, it can be launched toward Israel and it can be killed. If one missile will be shot, maybe dozens of Israeli can be harmed. So for this is the dilemma that we are working on. And as I told you in the last questions, we are taking the human lives in the other side very seriously, and we want to be proportionate when we act.
Okay.
We can be much more violent than what we are doing now.
Yeah. Tell us, if you can, with the scope of censorship, a little bit about the process of creating targets and how the process of creating the target works until Israel managed to combat that target and prevent the maximum civilian death. I mean, the creation about people doesn't understand. They think that that Israel attack, discriminate, and the fire without a plan, without a strategy, sometimes without even seeing. So if you can, a little bit about that, the creation, about how the process of the creation of the target.
Let me tell you an example for the huge success that we have destroying a strategic weapon of the Hamas, which called the underground tunnels. Okay, and through this you will understand the process. By the way, it's not tunnels, it's a bases, it's a military terror bases under the ground. They have many of them. They are being located in the area that they thought that the Israeli troops, once there will be invasion to Gaza Strip, then they can engage us and surprise us because they will pop up from those tunnels. In order to attack those targets, somebody started working 2 years ago in finding those targets, finding the path, where are the piers. Somebody need to authorize those targets. I mean, usually it's a general. And again, remember, when we authorize each target, we take under consideration, it's not 100% mission. It's the balance between successful of the mission and not to hit innocent civilians. And there are a lot of stations. Once we find the targets, it's going to several commanders and go to the Israeli Air Force. And then there is a team that looking at the target and again, planning it again to see that we are targeting the right point at the minimum level of bombs. And so it's a long process, and then it's go to the squadron, and the people there put the bombs, the fuses, and then in the command and control cell, we usually do not attack without seeing the targets before. Because we want to make sure that there is not a lot of people in the surroundings and things bad can happen.
Yes.
And again, having said that, I can tell you that this is a war. Mistakes happens, technical issues happens, but we are trying to minimize those risks. And I think that until now we are going in this area very, very good. Very good.
There is some curiosity about how Israel works with internal information from Gaza to prevent Palestinian civilians from suffering the consequences of war. And if you can comment on something about it.
I need you to elaborate some more about this issue, because this is sensitive. Can you please repeat?
So if there is some curiosity or any info or of a knowledge that about how Israel works with internal information from Gaza, not talking about the people giving information to the IDF about targets, but people giving information about to prevent Palestinian civilians from suffering the consequences of the war.
I'm not sure I understand completely the question. I can tell you.
Give you an example.
Yes.
People, for example, that the Secret Service or the Israeli army call and they help tell the Israeli army if there is somebody in some building, or if there is not, or to be sure and to be 100% sure that the building is empty and there is no civilians, and even taking out the civilians one block away in order to prevent civilian casualties. So there is a kind of people that Israel calls in Gaza.
Okay, now I understand what you're saying. Look, I cannot elaborate to you
okay,
the ways that we are operate. I can tell you that what we did until now prevents harm to civilians, people on the other side. Okay? Remember, those peoples you can find in each building, you can find the rockets in the first floor, family in the second floor, a command and control post on the third floor. So remember, when we operate, this is a military target. But once we decide to evacuate the building, we are making sure and we see that people go out from the building. I cannot tell you how we are doing it.
Of course.
But until now, in the last 8 days, we didn't have big mistakes on this area.
What kind of technology has Israel implemented in recent years that helped the country to improve its precision in this asymmetric war? And if you, of course, we in the scope of the censorship. Sure.
First of all, until 7 years ago or more, when Tzuk Eitan, I don't remember what's his English name, usually we were targeting terrorists above the ground level. The last 7 years, we have developed technology that allow us to be effective as we use it in the upper level of the ground to the subterranean, the underground tunnels.
Okay.
And this is something very, very difficult. Today, we can be very precise of where we want the bomb to hit, how deep it needs to go down to meet the tunnel, and what kind of explosion we need to do. And of course, everything is related not just for the attack, but also the information, the intelligence that we need to do. The Iron Dome is better. The UAV that we are using are better. Command and control post. Today, we are much, much, much more better than we were in the last operation. And you can see it on the ground because our achievement in 7-8 days is equivalent to what happened 7 years ago in 50 days.
Yeah. Okay, that's impressive. We know that you are on the rush. We
Yes.
have 2 more questions.
One more because in 3 minutes I need to
perfect. What message would you like to give to the Brazilian audience that is watching us about the fact that Israel is fighting Hamas and Jihad Islamic, and many people end up forgetting Israeli citizens are being attacked, and this is the reason the army is fighting against Hamas in the first place?
Sure. Let me start by telling you that it is important for us, first of all, the message that we will be united inside Israel. As we are united with the Jewish communities all around the world, and I urge you, I know I lived 3 years in Italy. I was the Israel Defense Attaché. I lived 1 year in the United States. I know it is very difficult to explain the narrative of Israel abroad. I know, because it will always be Goliath and David. But keep on doing it. Keep on convincing the world, your friends, your colleagues, that we are not attackers. We want peace. We want peace with the Palestinians. But we will not suffer those kinds of firing upon our children, women. You know, they are not firing. The rockets are not accurate. They are aiming to the center of Tel Aviv.
Yes.
Okay? Think what Brazil government would do if in Brasilia 2,000 rockets would have been shot on Brazil. Would you accept it?
Of course not.
No, no. So we are trying to defend ourselves. We are seeking for peace. We want peace. You know, it's not easy also for our kids at 3 o'clock at night to hear sirens and go down to the shelter, and you hope that they will not fall from the stairs because they are very excited.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You can finish.
No, please.
Okay, no, that's it. I want to thank you, Coronel Kobi. I want to remind you that we met in 2019, and I won the competition in your simulator of F-16.
Oh, really?
I believe it's the only simulator of combat planes in the that civilians can fly in the world, right? So
yes. This is a squadron. If you ask me what makes this operation successful, in my eyes, it's not the technology.
It's the pilots.
It's the people. It's not just the pilots. It's the team. It's the people. It's the excellence that we are really want to be in. How we work together, how we lead, how we debrief ourselves to have continuous improvement and not to stay 7 years. So what you just said, this is a squadron that I established in Tel Aviv with a lot of F-16 and F-35 simulators.
Yes.
It teaches these tools of excellence.
Yes, I have the wings you gave me, by the way. Great. So thank you, Coronel, very much for your time, and good luck in the coming days. And I hope we emerge stronger and safer. And also for the benefit of the people of Gaza Strip, that one day Hamas will not be among us and not Jihad Islamic, and the Palestinians can have a good future with us in a good neighborhood.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Be sure that we will prevail. I'm sure. I know what's going on in the other side. I don't think the end is far. I think it's near. And I really hope that in the end, we will have quiet, and maybe within a few years, we will have peace, because this is what is important.
Yes.
All the best for you. Toda and shalom from Israel.
Toda rabá. Thank you. Obrigado a todos pela presença. Obrigado a todos pela audiência. Nós vamos traduzir esse vídeo depois que a censura em Israel autorizar, devido às edições e às coisas que foram ditas aqui, e postaremos nas nossas mídias sociais. Bom dia a todos e obrigado mais uma vez.